Welcome to BAPCO TV. And joining me today is Jimmy Cockerton. He's from Microsoft and he's one of our keynote speakers. Thanks so much for coming in, Jimmy. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're going to be speaking at Ricoh Arena on March 10th and 11th?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to be talking a bit about where public safety is today with its technology, where it needs to get to and what the blockers are. Talking a lot around data and how public safety organisations really need to exploit data and become data driven, and what the advantages are to them and the public once they achieve that.
Talking about exploiting and data, people may get a little bit worried. There's such combative words. How do you make sure that the public aren't too concerned about the things that you're doing?
I think there's a level of trust in there and transparency about how you're using data, but this is data that they already have today. They're just not doing much with it. It's sat in little pockets, in little silos somewhere, not really serving, not really available to the front line, not really there to drive insights and help organisations run better. So it's about how do we take the data they already have, used in the environment they already have, and just exploit it for more information.
I mean, being part of Microsoft, you must have access to so many new technologies. Are you going to be talking about some of those?
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the new stuff, but I think it's also about understanding where public safety is at the minute, and you can't just jump to the shiny new world of technology, even if you really, really want to. There are stepping stones to get there, and it's important to understand what those stepping stones are and the things that need to change, because it's often much wider than technology. It's often about culture, it's about how you fund things, there's much more to it than just the tech.
Talking about then, obviously not just the tech side, but looking at the user interface side, would that be part of your keynote speech?
I think it's part of it. I think there's an expectation now that everything's easy to use, that you should be able to just pick tools up and operate them straight away. You shouldn't have to train people for days and days on things. Technology should be that easy to use these days. That feels like a bit of a given these days for most things, not all things. But yeah, that's a big part of it.
I mean, security is something that we're always concerned about. We use every day something on our first smartphones or our computers. So what things are you going to be trying to talk about on the security to help people understand what's in their devices?
Yeah, so I think security comes under a lot of different banners. So you've got security in the way we think about it, about things like encryption and protecting data. But then there's also other things around transparency and trust about if you give your data to somebody else to store, say in a cloud environment, what are they going to do with that? What if a law enforcement agency come and ask to see that data? You want to know what you will and will not do with it. So that's a big part of it. Another big part of it's about reliability as well. If we think about what public safety organisations are doing and responding to 999 calls and threats to life, they need to know that if they are operating a system, that it's available and it's responsive and it's going to be there when they need it, perform how they need it. So there's a lot of different angles to it. And I think when we look at the trust angles, we're used to giving data away in our private lives because we perceive we get value back from it. Whether we do or not is a different question. But in a public safety world, people don't see the benefits of how that data is used. And what I mean by that is, for example, policing or ambulance aren't very good at promoting the fact that the way they've used data perhaps has helped save 20 people's lives or helped find 10 missing kids this month. And I think those good news stories, that value that people see is missing from public safety, from a public perception view.
I mean, that's the big part of the trust aspect that you just mentioned there. Do you think that this is going to be something that you'll be bringing up and maybe can talk on an individual level with suppliers at BAPCO?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it's a bit of I hate the word, but it's a bit of a journey everybody has to go on. So I can stand here and tell you that everything's secure and it's safe and it's trustworthy, but that trust has to kind of be earned and built up over time. And I think that can be done by demonstrating the credentials, so things like accreditations and all the sort of less exciting side of it, but there's also the other side of the coin, which is things like ethics. So if we look at things like artificial intelligence, how ethical are you about how you're going to use that? Because just because you can do something these days doesn't mean you should do that. But these are the sorts of things that, yes, we like to talk to companies and public safety organisations about, and even potentially the public as well, about how this information is used.
I mean, is that one of the reasons why you decided to be part of the conference?
Yeah, I think for me it was quite a good thing, because when I moved out of policing into private sector, it was the first event I went to. So it was the first one where I was stood on a stand, kind of terrified, having to talk to the public and try and convince them to do something with the organisation I was working for. So it's quite nice that it's kind of come back round again for me to be able to present at this one. But yeah, I think it's a great event. It's always been a great event. It's always there looking at responders and first line responders and how technology can be used to really improve what they do. And it's the only place in the UK where you can really go and see all of that collectively brought together and how it all works together.
And obviously, as you're a keynote speaker, you're going to be standing up there and talking about Microsoft and security, but is there anything that you're specifically looking forward to?
For me, it's always good to see the new companies that are out there. Always very interested in the smaller new companies that are popping up as well. We all know the same names in the industry, that they're all the time, but what we tend to see these days is that innovation is coming from small companies, quite often outside of the UK, of companies that want to break into the UK market as well. So those smaller companies that are developing in more of a cloud modern way are doing things that other companies are struggling with, and it's really exciting to see what the innovation they're bringing.
And that is exciting. Someone like Microsoft coming up to a small company to help improve, our policing and ambulance services. I mean, that must get you quite excited and maybe prepared for more of your speech.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I won't steal what they've done, but I think it's kind of, the days are gone, I think, where big companies can want to take over everything, can want to be the centre of everything a public safety organisation or any organisation does. It's about working with lots of different organisations and taking the best of what everybody has to offer, almost bringing together a bit of an ecosystem.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at the conference, Jimmy. Thanks so much for coming in to talk about it today.
Thank you very much.
You can join in by heading to bapco-show.co.uk and registering for free. We'll see you on March 10th and 11th at Coventry Ricoh Arena.